bad thoughts do not require automatic bad actions to deal with those bad thoughts. You can overcome yourself repeatedly. And I think people need to understand that it's an inner battle that needs to be won first. And we do that from within by then using outside sources to help us overcome ourselves. And that's paramount.
Welcome to Leading and Growing Your Real Estate Business. I'm James Short, and this show dives into the real stories behind the agents and the leaders shaping our industry. No polished highlight reels, just honest conversations about what's working, what's not, and how they're building businesses that actually grow. Each episode, I sit down with someone in the trenches, top performers, rising leaders, business owners who've cracked the code and others still figuring it out. We unpack the wins, the failures, the habits, and the lessons you can put to work straight away. Before we dive in, can I ask a favor, and please subscribe or follow on the platform you're listening or watching this. The more we grow, the bigger impact we can have together. And thank you. Let's get started. Welcome back to another edition of Leading and Growing Your Real Estate Business. And I wanted to jump on before the guest arrived today to share a little story about this guest. He's been a dear friend of mine for, probably about 2008 when we first caught up. And I want to share the story of how we caught up because it gives us some context of who we are about to hear. It was 2008 and a good mate of mine, Dave Gray, and I and his brother-in-law were heading over to Perth to do the Bustleton Ironman. 3.8 kilometer swim, 180k bike ride and a 42k run. And I remember we're on the flight and we were flying over. There was a gentleman coming down the aisle of the plane. And it's like, okay. And he had tats all over him. And it just looked like an awesome dude. And I saw he had this shirt. It said Ultraman. I said, what's an Ultraman? And I was reading it. And it's like 10 kilometer swim, 360k bike ride, and an 84k run. I went, holy moly. And this event was done over 3 days. And then I looked at the date of the shirt and it was 2 weeks prior. So he just finished this Ultraman event. It was in Hawaii before the Hawaii Ironman. Separate event. I think there was only 10 people that are allowed to do it. Anyway, he obviously went to the bathroom and came back. And I said, excuse me, sir. I said, I just noticed your shirt. Did you just compete in that event? And in his American accent, yeah, man. I said, how was it? And that was the start of our mateship. His name was Todd Crandell. And for that whole number of hours on that flight, we were just back and forth chatting, Jay. And he said, yeah, I just completed the Ultraman. And I said, so what are you doing heading over to Perth? And he goes, I'm doing the Bustleton Ironman. I said, so are we. So we struck up that friendship. And I said, how are you actually still standing from that event to now? And he goes, this is how I roll. And we will share with you the story of how his journey has really shaped him. That event, I said, so what are you doing why are you doing this Bustleton Ironman? He goes, we're filming the next documentary, and had his film crew and so forth. I said, oh, sweet. And then we landed, and because the flight was delayed, his transport obviously left. So anyway, we had a couple of utes, bikes in the back, let's go. And we were all staying, funny enough, in the same accommodation. So that really struck up that, once again, further developed the friendship. And I remember clearly we were out in the field, the wind was coming out. It was an epic day. And I remember coming over the finish line and I see him in the medic's tent. And he's got the space blanket on. He goes, Shorty, come over here. And he goes, oh, please, man, don't leave me. So I stayed there with him until he came to. It was all right, but obviously he still hadn't recovered from his Ultraman 2 weeks ago. But that was a really pivotal moment for us of just sticking by your mates. But we really developed a great friendship. And in this podcast, you'll hear some of the things that we have done together over the years. And we've still been great mates over these years. So I really look forward to sharing some insights. He's a wealth of knowledge. Really lean into this. This is going to be a game changer show, interview podcast, because he's got some history and he's going to share with us on the show today. Let's bring him on. Todd Crandell, ladies and gentlemen. we have our next guest, Todd Crandell. Family, faith, mental, physical, emotional, and soul well-being. These are his non-negotiables today. But the man he is now was built through fire. For 13 years, he was addicted to drugs and alcohol. He was lost, broken, homeless, and arrested multiple times. The third time on April 14th, 1993, which became the turning point of his life. He has been sober ever since April 15, 1993. Since that day, he has been on a mission to transform and to help others do the same. Today, he's a self-made millionaire, licensed professional clinical counselor, and founder of Racing for Recovery. He's completed 128 Ironman triathlons and counting, published 7 books, and been featured in 4 documentaries. But his story isn't about recovery. It's about reinvention, mental toughness, and building a life of purpose, health, and impact. It's about creating the life you desire, no matter where you're starting from. Through his keynotes, books, and workshops, he helps individuals and organizations break limits, shift mindsets, and unlock their full potential. Creating Todd Crandell is a blueprint for becoming a high achiever, even after hitting rock bottom. And his book, Elevate From Within to Beyond, dives deeper into mastering the mindset and lifestyle behind lasting success. It's an honor and a privilege to have a dear friend of mine, a great mate, and we're going to unpack some of that history, some of that story. Todd, legend, so good to have you on the show, buddy.
It's great to see you. God, so many memories with you. It's great to see your cute little face.
Now, I'm going to come clean. Before we jumped on today, I did do a little recording of our history. And I remember it was at 2008, 2009 when we did the Bustleton Ironman together over in Perth. And I remember you coming down the aisle of the plane with your Ultraman shirt on. And I pulled you aside and I said, excuse me, you just did that. And in your accent, just, yeah, man, yeah. And then boom, that was it. Seeing you out in the field and then seeing you wrapped in the space blanket at the end. It was, oh, dude, that was the start of a beautiful friendship.
You forgot a couple of things about wait a minute. So I met you on the flight from Sydney to
Perth.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because we had a layover, and that's where this really is important. We missed our flight in Sydney. And had I caught that flight, we wouldn't have met. You remember
True.
that? We missed the flight and we had to stay overnight, and thankfully caught the next one with you. And that's where we met. And I thank God for that all the time.
Amazing. Amazing.
Crazy.
Now,
Yeah. You remember I do want to, sorry, I got to say this too. Do you remember I didn't have any, I don't think I had shoes on, or I had flip-flops because my feet were so mangled from the Ultraman. And you were like, you're going to do the Ironman in a couple days? And yeah, man, let's go. Oh, good time.
Now, for the audience, for the listeners, take us back to that transition of when you're in the 90s, when you hit rock bottom, because today I want to really unpack. I'm just going to put it out there. We're just going to go straight into it. Obviously, in the real estate space, coaching, training, workshops, that kind of stuff, what I see across the industry, particularly in Australia, is a hidden addiction. And I say that because I've seen from the top performers to those who are coming up that cocaine, alcohol, gambling, there's an underlying epidemic that's going on at the moment where I think a lot of people are unaware that they're addicted to an outlet, are addicted to pain, addicted to escaping whatever they're trying to escape, if it's high performance or if it's just reality. And so I want to, for the audience, go back to your journey so we can share some of that context and then look at how do we unpack that for the audience and for the listeners.
So most people that I encounter that are using whatever outside substance or person, sometimes they're doing so because of some unresolved trauma. And when we start talking about trauma is related to the individual. Nobody gets to say somebody's trauma is less than or worse than. Trauma and pain are specific to that individual. But for me, I had my mom kill herself from drugs. My uncle killed himself from drugs. My aunt killed herself from a food addiction. I see people coming into Racing for Recovery every day with some crazy things that have happened to them. And society doesn't understand the impact of what trauma does to the mind, body, and the soul and the spirit. It's catastrophic. People will say, oh, we have an epidemic of a heroin problem or a cocaine problem. We have an epidemic of not healing from trauma, that cocaine or gambling or shopping is the coping skill to deal with the unresolved trauma. And that's what makes Racing for Recovery unique. That's what enables me to connect with the people that I'm fortunate enough to work with. It's just understanding or getting them to understand their hurt, impact of that hurt, and how to aid them into building a lifestyle of self-betterment. And that's just what I've done since April 15th of 1993.
Incredible. And so when we look at this trauma, where does that trauma usually come from? You said people deal with different events or different circumstances differently, but how do we know that we maybe have trauma? Where do we go?
If you are, everybody knows what's going on internally. The problem I see is people want to ignore those feelings, or they want to, again, use a substance to not think about those feelings. So I think all of us know what's wrong, or we know how we feel. We might not be able to connect why we're feeling this way, but we know, hey, man, I don't feel good. I hate my job. I'm not getting along with my wife. I'm not communicating with my kids. I gained 20 pounds. People know what's going on. And honestly, it really comes down to, not only do you want to change, are you willing to do the work to change? You mentioned rock bottom. I like to look at this stuff as I chose a new beginning, because I hit a rock bottom every time I pick up a drink. But the last time I chose to create a new beginning, and that's just a different mindset. Right.
Yep.
And I know you're big on a positive mindset. How we speak leads to how we're going to act. That's going to bring the results that we have. If I'm trying to get into real estate and I say, look, Shorty, I need some help with this, but I don't think I'm going to be any good at it. I don't know if I'm going to sell a house. But if I come in and I'm like, hey, I'm ready to go. I know I can do this. I'm looking for your guidance to coach me on how to do this. I'm going to sell some houses with that attitude.
And how does someone change that? How does someone going from, oh, I'm not sure, I don't know, to, no, I know that I've got this, but it might be a little bit of a process to get there? How do we start to shift that language?
It starts with a thought that leads to verbally expressing it or even saying it to self. And then it comes through repetition. The body and the mind start to know, and they feel this is different. For example, you respond differently to when you may start to have an argument with your wife. You recognize, wait a minute, I used to handle this way. Now that I've made some changes, I'm going to handle it this way. And then the body and the mind start to come into a line where they're realizing, hey, I feel better because I acted differently, or I sold that first house. I'm really energized to do it again. And it becomes a lifestyle. This is what we're living in, is really a lifestyle that is conducive to success. And that takes time. And by doing it repeatedly, you change I don't want to sound like a doctor or a scientist, but you change the biochemistry, if you will, the body chemistry and the psychological chemistry. Things rewire themselves into productive, synapses, I think, are the stuff that's in there. I'm sorry, I'm getting out of my league with some of this, but it's through repetition.
Got it. So like myself, exercise like yourself is a huge factor, like 128 Ironmans. Like we're going to unpack that in a minute, but and obviously we're racing for recovery. What's been the impact that you've seen with the people that you've worked with around exercise and training and having that as a source of recovery or focus? What's the impact that you've seen with exercise?
Exercise, and for me, plant-based nutrition are paramount to my wellness every day. The benefits of just exercise, and exercise is all relative. Yes, I've done a few Ironmans. I don't care what you do. Lift weights, walk, ping pong, tennis, swimming, any physical movement. The human body is made to move. And when we move, endorphins are released. We think better. We feel better. we have more energy, we want to do better. It's just all connected, but it starts with movement. If we don't move, we don't get, I'm going to be 60 in a couple of months and I feel great. And you're no spring chicken yourself anymore.
That's right.
But you're the same when I met you 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's because of that physical movement. Because when we feel good from exercise, we're able to cope with the rest of the day. Good business decisions, good nutritional decisions, good spiritual decisions, good parenting decisions. It starts with exercise. First thing in the morning, ideally, is when to do it.
Now let's unpack the 128. What, how did you get started in the triathlons, and what inspires you to keep doing more?
This is going to tie back into what we were talking about with the consistency. I saw the Ironman Hawaii triathlon probably 1990, 91, and I was doing whatever drug I was doing, and I saw it on television, and I was sitting with a guy doing bad things, and I was watching that, and I looked at him and I said, man, I want to do that someday. And I remember him looking at me, he's, dude, really? Look at the condition you're in. And my life was in shambles, but that was the seed that was planted. My stepmom was an avid runner. She ran marathons. She did a couple triathlons, and I was always inspired by her. And after being sober for 6 years, I picked up hockey again for a while and answered some personal what if questions, meaning if I didn't get involved in drugs, could hockey have been a thing? And so after I was done with hockey, I'm like, I'm going to look at that Ironman thing again. And I signed up for 3 full Ironmans before I even did anything.
That's burning the boats, isn't it?
To go all in. But I wasn't a runner. I didn't know how to swim, and I didn't own a bike, but I signed up and I'm like, I'm doing this. And then it was just like anything, jumping in, learning from people, having a lot of failures or non-successes, I should say, and just learning it. But when I did my first Ironman, it was November 6th, 1999 down in Panama City Beach, Florida. I was like, I'm doing this again. I had to have knee surgery after that race, but I was like, I want to do this again. And I've been doing it again and again since 1999.
What keeps you going? What keeps you inspired to keep doing these incredible races?
It's not really the race itself. It's the benefits of doing the race, meeting you.
Yep.
If I hadn't signed up for Australia, we wouldn't have met, and hopefully somebody's going to benefit for our conversation today. I think of the speaking engagement you had me do back in Sydney, right? And the money that we raised to help people over there. So I do these because I love the travel. I love going to different countries. I love meeting new people. I love different cultures. I love learning. I love the experience of real life, things you can't read about going to Australia in a textbook. I want to go to Australia and learn about Australia, and I love it. I also love the personal challenge that, and I'm going to do it again next Sunday when I wake up, and it's a conversation with self. That's, do you got it again? Can you do it again today? Because it doesn't matter how many I've done before. What do you have today? And I love that still.
That's so good. That's so good. Now, obviously going through these events, but also in life and dealing with trauma or challenges, the power of having a support team or support network around you. Can you share with us, like, for example, racing and recovery, having the power and the benefits of having that support network, but how does someone get a support network or a support team to get you through these milestones?
It's no different for me than the network of degenerates like I turned myself into. That took me a while to build that network of debauchery. This is the same concept of turning it into self-betterment. The more you do good, the more people are going to hear about the goodness that you're doing. It's going to attract more goodness. You're going to pull people into your circle, not only for their benefit. What I found out is I've become a better person from the people I surround myself, like yourself. It's all energy. And the more that we are in positive environments, discussing positive things, doing positive things, that peer support becomes not only a lifeline in times of trouble, it becomes great friendships, great learning opportunities, great business opportunities, great service opportunities. So peer support and support in general are essential for overall wellness and the greater good of mankind. I couldn't do this by myself.
Totally.
I may have started Racing for Recovery by myself. I signed up for my first Ironman by myself, but teachers, lawyers, doctors, friends, peers in recovery, all of these people have helped me be the man that I am today. It's through I'm still here.
Love it. Now, share us the story around Racing for Recovery, because you said you started by yourself, and then looking at your website, gosh, you got an amazing team, amazing network that's part of the organization now. Share us with us that story of those humble beginnings to the amazing impact that it's having globally right now.
I am going to promote was it our fifth book, sixth book? I don't even know. Sixth book. It's called Creating. Because, and I'm telling you why I'm going to promote that book, and it's related to people in business. I had this concept come to me back in 2001. I had just done my fourth Ironman in New Zealand, Lake Taupo. And I came home and our local newspaper had me on the front page of the sports section. And it was that article in the sports section. And this is 8 years into my recovery that this happened. People were calling me from all over the country, guys that I had done drugs with, former hockey coaches, police officers that had arrested me. And they all were like, I can't believe you're alive, let alone doing these crazy things you're doing. You got a family and everything. And I thought, I call it a gift. I got a gift. And I think it was from my mom, my dead mom, whatever higher being. Something came to me that said, I think you found your life's purpose here. And I knew I could do something. So I formed Racing for Recovery, ran it out of my closet in my house for 15 years. Wow. 15 years, filed for bankruptcy 2 times, houses foreclosed on, cars repossessed. And this is the stuff that's in the Creating book that I talk about. Sometimes people look at success of any kind and they don't really look at the work it took to earn the success. And I'm sharing that for real estate people that want to go to school and become a doctor or an attorney or whatever. Nobody is going to hand you this. Nobody is going to hand it to you. You have to earn it, but you can earn it. And the process of dedication, perseverance, support, having the willpower to get up, be willing to take a hand and allow somebody to lift you up. Those are the things that will enable you to carry on. And Racing for Recovery today has gone way beyond what I ever thought. I was struggling when I met you guys over there. I was struggling, and this life that I have has not come easy, like I said, but it's been worth it. Things are incredible today.
And then, so what does the next 6-12 months look like for you? Obviously, you got the book. What else is coming up on as projects or on the list?
Racing for Recovery is the first program that's ever included family members and the community, along with those suffering from addiction and mental health issues, into one network support group environment. About 9 years ago, even before COVID and Zoom and all these things, we started live streaming that podcast. So that was an innovative way to take technology and get it out to people. Now we have some plans to do our clinical services to reach different countries. When I'm doing a mental health group, I want to broadcast that in Australia and different parts of the United States. So that's coming up in the next 6 to 12 months with us. I'm doing more speaking engagements on a corporate level. Got quite a few of those lined up. Of course, we'll be doing some Ironmans, and I hope to be seeing you down in Memphis, Tennessee at some point too, right?
Yeah. So is there anything that you feel that we haven't talked about that we need to be talking about when it comes to addiction or mindset for the audience right now?
Yeah, if people take a look at my life and read a couple of things, they'll learn that I've battled suicidal ideation and planning and thoughts for 56 of my 59 years. I still have not completely eluded those thoughts. And I do have the courage to speak on my struggles because I know other people are going to be hearing me now and going, wow, I feel that way. But I'm here to tell you that suicide is not the answer. Drugs and alcohol are not the answer. Talking to somebody about how you truly feel is part of the answer. Exercise is definitely part of the answer. Plant-based nutrition, just being willing to learn more about self and understanding that having bad thoughts do not require automatic bad actions to deal with those bad thoughts. You can overcome yourself repeatedly. And I think people need to understand that it's an inner battle that needs to be won first. And we do that from within by then using outside sources to help us overcome ourselves. And that's paramount. I don't know if you remember this, but when I did one of my talks over at one of your offices, it was right across from where Michael Hutchins took his life. And and I had a bit of a struggle realizing what had occurred right across the street as I was talking to your audience that day. And that stuff is real. And the biggest thing I think people try to do, especially men, is try and tough it out. Don't tough it out. Being tough is being willing to say, I need some help with this. That's a strong man. And when you do that, you're going to reap the benefits of that. Trust me on that.
Where can the audience go to find out more information, follow your journey, and also following the Racing for Recovery's journey?
Racingforrecovery.org. I'm on Instagram as the Sober Ultraman. I will answer you if you message me, but Racing for Recovery YouTube, my own YouTube page, just look up my name and Racing for Recovery. And if you need to find me, message me and I will respond to you personally.
You've got some awesome videos on YouTube, guys. Go and check it out. It's next level. Like, you want some great tools and strategies, but you want some inspiration? Head there. And really appreciate your time, your heart, your connection, and being you, because this is an area that we need to keep on talking about. Because as you said, the more that we talk about, the more that people feel like it's okay to talk about. And I just wanted to acknowledge you and all the amazing work that you do across the world. From my heart to yours, mate, I really appreciate you and everything that you do.
I love you, my friend. Sometimes people have said to me, oh, why do you need to keep doing these things? You're addicted to them. And I'm not addicted to them. And I'm going to go back again. Had I not met you on that flight that time, just by connecting with you, you and I and many friends that you have, we made a difference for some people over there. And I know this podcast is going to do the same thing. So Ironman is just one thing that I do to help spread a message of hope. And I'm thankful my body still works. And I'm thankful to know you as a human being. And it's so good to connect with you, man.
Awesome. Thanks, Todd.